Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm assuming you can hear me, but I've got my headphones in and they've been a bit temperamental, so apologies for that. Welcome to today's Grey Market Blast. I believe it's the 3rd of June, but my internal calendar's all over the shop. You join me and the glamorous, with a capital G, Angie Setzer, where Angie will be providing a rapid roundup of the latest price and flows and market moving news in agricultural markets. But before she does, and it's never been more important that I do the legals, because after this I am flying off to Vegas. I'm not sorry. Nothing discussed on this basic session constitute trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ, myself, Ryan Paisley, or indeed the wonderful, the magnificent, the glamorous Angie Setzer. Angie, how are you, my love?
Woohoo! I'm good. I'm really good. I thought we were going to have to push this back. It's the last week of school, and we're currently, struggling with Colton. We're basically just, pretty much. I'm going to sing that to him all the rest of the week, and he's going to, he turned 9 last week, and so now mom's annoying. Oh, mom. He says that to me all the time. Oh, mom. I'm like, I thought that was hilarious. What? I don't know. He's a big fan of Michael's puns, though, so I guess he's a lost cause at this point. Then, if that's the
exactly.
the case,
I've already written him off. I had a special place in my heart for Colton, but not anymore.
That's just it. I'm like, nope, we're right. Yeah. So anyway, happy Tuesday. It is June 3rd, even though my internal calendar says it's sometime in the middle of March. I'm just spinning in my chair mentally. And so here we are. News story so far overnight. We kind of just languished, you could say, but I think maybe, I don't know. I thought this yesterday and was very wrong, by the end of the day, but maybe folks are starting to realize this whole peace in the Black Sea thing might be a little bit harder to come by than what we were thinking here a 3 weeks ago. We're not going to solve the war overnight, obviously, here now that we're, 4 or 5 months into that.
Yeah. It does feel like markets are kind of waking up to the risk premium that should have been in there all along.
Yes, and I mean, really, when you're looking at it currently, the situation is escalating pretty significantly. You've got a couple different, obviously we had the drone attack on all of the bombers, or not all of them, but a good amount of, Russia's bombers. That really caught them off guard. And now we're seeing reports, though, that I think is the most interesting part of this, because there was egg on Putin's face ahead of this with the whole attack, but apparently the report indicates that Russia was planning a wide-scale, large missile attack using these bombers that very night with the idea that they were going to kind of force Ukraine's hand the next day in Istanbul, and instead Ukraine was like, aha, Uno reversed, mother, and so that's kind of one of those things where you saw the Kremlin this morning.
I've not heard that. So like you said, this is the first I've heard it. That would be really something, because
we'll see how accurate it is. Yeah.
If it's true, obviously big if. It would insinuate that that the Ukrainians have an inside line to what is being planned.
Yes.
Not only was it an exceptional operation. I saw funny enough, I saw a few people liken it to kind of, in terms of the daringness of it, the Israelis with the Hamas pages.
Yes.
And it was that kind of vibe, right? It's no one had even considered this as an option. And then all of a sudden it's we're going to just park some containers outside the runway.
Yeah, and it kind of freaks you out a little bit when you think about it, like you said, with the Hamas pagers and some of these other things. The age of war is changing very much in a way that I don't like to think about, so we're not gonna. And that's what we do. That's delusion is the solution sometimes, and that's where I'm at. That's not anything I have to worry about. But it is one of those things that I think, when it comes down to it, not only did you open the door, in my opinion, to the potential for greater infrastructure attacks on the things that fuel the economies of either country, because now you're getting to the point of where you're going to have to really ramp this up if you want, one side versus the other. Russia thought they were going to come in, be able to kind of secure some of this additional territory. I think they thought that Trump would be entirely on their side potentially, and now they're discovering that there is a Western influence that, EU style, whatever, that is keeping this from, being resolved really quickly. And so you did see... Go ahead.
Sorry, I keep it.
No, you're fine.
I'm making the most of it, because obviously I'm not going to see you. I'm not going to speak to you for a couple of days. Well,
I know, this is really rough. I'm having a hard one.
We both know there's going to be drunken voice messages to you from Vegas. But that's
I can't wait.
You mentioned about infrastructure, and obviously over this morning we heard about the Kerch Bridge
yes.
attack. And that again sounds like a massive operation because it's like over 1,000 kilos of,
Mined support of the bridge, like
yeah.
underwater mined the support of the bridge, and like they're still attacking different people. And so, yeah, I mean, you are seeing an incredible ramp up, and I feel like Ukraine obviously has some level of support because the U.S. now does have, and we talked about this when this came about, the U.S. has an economic interest in Ukraine and all that includes, so there's just a whole lot of things that we have to be paying attention to, and the market doesn't have the risk premium in there. Now, maybe now that you're hearing from the Ukrainian government, like, conditions, weather conditions, not great. But then we also have this whole war thing that we're dealing with, and it's getting worse. And so we're probably looking at a pretty significant cut year over year, just based on if everything were to normalize here from now on, you are looking at a pretty significant cut in expectations for Ukrainian production. And then the $1 million question becomes, does Lindsey Graham kind of win his push? Do you see another round of sanctions introduced against Russia that would impact not only their banking, their ability to export oil, but it also start to target customers? And so if you were Egypt, if you were China, if you were, anyone that's been purchasing not only Russian oil, but Russian grain, you may be a little nervous that some of these deferred positions you may be thinking about putting on may be impacted eventually or end up giving you a 500% tariff if the U.S. were to, really kind of, put the hammer down. So, we'll see. I think the market is definitely ignoring, what could impact a significant amount of grain exports, what could impact the overall world market. And then of course you have all of the geopolitical ramifications that come together with alliances and this, that, and the other thing. And so anything you want to add on that point while we're there?
All good, all good.
Okay. Point two, we've got trade updates. One of the biggest ones I think that is decent or is, kind of maybe flying under the radar, but is something to pay attention to. You are seeing more in the way of increased, these trade deals. So you did hear Trump and we're still waiting. I haven't seen the official, and the EU said they have also not seen the official, but apparently there was a letter that went out that was like, put your best offer forward. You need it here by Wednesday, deadline, it's Wednesday.
And
Go
again,
ahead.
funny enough, this is something that we've said again multiple times over the last weeks, months, it feels like years.
Right.
That, it's going to get to the point that Trump is going to say, look, I'm only dealing with the people that have actually reached out to me. And this is what he's doing. He's kind of saying this letter that apparently has gone out. It said, look, you guys that haven't approached us with any deals yet, if you don't hurry up by Wednesday, we're going to just slap tariffs on you. Or we're going
we're just doing it. We're tired of this.
I don't, sorry, just
Yeah,
quickly on
yeah.
this one, I'm not sure, because I feel like it's got under publicised overnight, but we're certainly on this side of the pond. But the House Republicans, or the Senate Republicans, one of the two, trying to put together this bill where for 500% tariffs on
Yes.
any country buying Russian energy. But basically
Yes.
what that means is India and China, because they take 70% of Russian energy. So again, I'm not saying it's going anywhere, but it just shows you that, what, a week and a half ago, wherever it was, when we thought, when the pause came in because of the court ruling, for 2 days or whatever it was, or a day and a half, everyone was like, oh, well, this means, tariffs are going to be scaled back. Anything but at the moment.
Oh yeah, and he's going to continue. He'll use the 122. Like he's already said, you know what I mean? Like basically at this point in time, they're going to continue on and the rest of the world's going to continue on like they exist. Even if we're all playing Tea Party and in the end it doesn't, at this point it's in your best interest as our trade partner, I believe, to continue to act as though they come on. Worst case scenario, they don't. Prepare for the best, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Not hope for the worst. You don't want to do that, but I trade wheat for a living, so it's all I ever do. Anyway, point two, obviously we got the trade conversations and we do have the China talk. We had heard, I'd seen a headline, but I hadn't seen confirmation this morning, or maybe I've missed it so far, about the delay or extending an extension of the delay in the China tariffs. Hadn't seen that. Did you see anything on that?
Yeah, I've seen the headline.
Through August?
I did see someone else flag it that it was almost like a repeat of a headline that was over the weekend. So
Okay.
it seems a bit messy.
Yes.
Michael Brown's probably tutting at us now saying, oh, there's a story here or whatever. But yeah, I've not seen anything concrete, but I've seen a couple of people say that this same headline's been repeated a couple of times.
Yeah, so we've got that. That's something to pay attention to. It does appear we did see a Wall Street Journal. Why do I do that every time? A Wall Street Journal article. It's just me saving time, you guys. Just get used to it. But we did see a Wall Street Journal article, say that China wants a permanent rollback of the tariffs. They will offer farm energy and other
Yeah.
product purchases, as well as investments in American manufacturing. In return, they want their tariffs rollback, obviously, and access to our chip technology. And so this will be super interesting to see what it takes or what the administration wants to do in order to, kind of negotiate a win there. But that is something that is of importance. Also, in addition, that I thought was super interesting and will probably fly under the radar, here for a little bit, but we had some really interesting, news. Basically, Vietnam's expected to sign deals with Washington to purchase over $2 billion worth of agricultural, forestry, and fishery products. They've got a delegation of over 50 people chilling in Iowa this week, which, kind of, again, flying under the radar, which absolutely amazes me simply because,
Yeah, absolutely.
they're signing deals. Basically there's a series of $800 million US dollar deals, that they've already worked to put into place. They're saying that there's another large chunk of business that they're wanting to do. And basically it was one of these things, discussion opened up the practical direction, promoting the export of high quality agricultural, forest, and fishery products from the state of Iowa to the Vietnamese market and vice versa. And so basically they're saying they want to, particularly with Iowa, business and associations from both sides have signed 5 memorandums of understanding so far, with that $800 million to be implemented over the next 3 years. And so that's pretty big. They've already agreed to buy 1 million metric tons of soybean meal from AGP. They're saying they're going to buy almost 1 million metric ton of corn and wheat from United Grain. And so we used to have these happen, where you'd have these delegations. China used to do it too. They'd come into Iowa and sign 1 million metric ton or 2 million metric ton or whatever, like we'd have like 11 million metric tons sold or whatever. It was never anything like that was actually an inked contract, but it is an MOU, memorandum of understanding. And so basically, this is an indication here that Vietnam has kind of, picked up the memo and is running with it. And they are working to try to get the U.S. on their side. They also have offered to roll back all of their tariffs, and basically are just, please hammer, don't hurt us sort of when it comes down to it on the Vietnam side. What's most interesting, and I don't think a lot of folks know, is Vietnam's actually going to import about 13 million metric tons of corn in the upcoming year, according to the USDA. And if they did, that would make them the 3rd largest buyer of corn. And so if they're kind of agreeing that they're going to come in and try to source U.S. specific corn, that'd be a big deal. Especially if we were to see this be one of many similar deals, which the administration has pushed. And so obviously if we get to look at it here on Wednesday, we may see more in the way of, yeah, we promise we'll buy some of your stuff. It's not an actual sale, but it's decent. I think that's it. Is there anything that you have on the trade side that you think we should?
No, I'll be very honest with you, Angie. I sort of checked out this morning. With
I'm glad for
flying.
you. You get to go to Vegas. It's been a busy week. You've got dad stuff going on. Like, get the hell out of here mentally.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
exactly.
I'm
But I'm gonna go.
actually in your suitcase mentally. Actually, I'm going with you. Oh,
Uh,
on the trade front, something of
go on.
interest. Japan,
Have
may,
you been reminded of this by my suitcase?
right? You're going to be way overweight on the Delta, limit, just so you know, you're going to have to pay a lot extra. But we are seeing Japan saying they are going to help with the Golden Dome as part of the trade negotiations. So something there to pay attention to. Lastly, just go ahead. Anything you want to
No,
add?
no, no, no. I was
No?
just saying, that was news to me about the Golden Dome. So yeah,
Look
that's why I
at
did
that.
it. Ah,
Now you know. That's why the more you
uh-huh.
know, you can tell your friends. And so lastly, just looking at weather and all of that happy horse stuff, it does look like we're going to be pretty wet here, across most of the country as we move ahead. We do have a chunk of corn that's left unplanted in the eastern corn belt that may prove problematic if we don't have much in the way of good opportunity to turn wheels. Ohio is the furthest behind, and they do have a couple days of potential opportunity. If you're in Ohio and you're like, girl, it's wet as hell here, you're stupid. That's okay. I am. It's cool. And so it's very variable around the countryside, you could say. A lot of traders are going to say that it's, cool and wet is conducive. Rain makes grain, yada, yada, yada. But we are still hearing about the potential for heat. I think the risk of a drought or a flash drought is probably, starting to fall off, especially with as wet as what it is in the Delta. And this is an assessment made by a meteorologist that I trust, not me saying it is Angie. But, but heat and a dry finish can be really problematic if we get there. So that'll be something we watch. And really for me right now, the biggest thing I'm going to be paying attention to over the next week to 2 weeks is what happens with the cash market. I want to see what happens with corn basis. I've been of the opinion that June is going to be the month that, makes or breaks my thesis. Like there's a lot of argument out there that the USDA cut production last fall or last January, too much basically in corn. There's a lot of talk that there's a couple 100 million bushels of extra corn floating around. My thought is it feels that way because we had so much extra bushels put into the pipeline by the farmer early on. I'm hearing stories of a lot of commercials that are basically at the end of their available supply. And I think there are a lot of end users across the country, maybe not as much in the world, but at least across the country here, that have grown complacent with the idea that the grain is going to continue to flow to them. Traditionally or typically you get done with planting and you have farmers come in to get a dose of cash flow in the summertime. I'm going to say in my years of experience, this is one of the tightest starts to June that I have seen, when it comes to available supply, at least in our local market structure. Like I'm going back to 2011, is one of the years that this reminds me of, at least when it comes to rail demand and some of these other things. And so, I think that's going to be something that we're going to pay attention to and could possibly not Trump weather, because weather is going to be the biggest focus, but if you start to hear more of a conversation of, wait a minute, we thought there were more bushels available, what's going on here? That'll be of interest, especially with the speculator as short as what they are. But for now, we're going to be paying attention to trade talk. What the hell happens with China? What's going on with the Black Sea, which everyone is continuing to discount, it feels like, at least the speculators are, and I'd be careful doing that. That's it. Here we go. I mean, we're just happy Tuesday, I guess.
Awesome. Well, Angie, thank you so much. Listeners, again, I know we all say it, but we really do appreciate you. There will definitely not be a grain market blast tomorrow because I will be at 30,000 feet. Thursday, Friday, me and Andy have decided we'll play it by ear. Let's see how drunk we get in Vegas. I'm nothing but honest. If I can talk, there'll be a grain market blast. If I can't, I might be just staggering around somewhere. Come and find me and help me out.
My favorite part is it's going to be 6:30 in the AM Las Vegas time. So even if you can talk, it is, I just feel like it's a goal at this point.
Well, let's be honest. In Vegas, the clock, so it's like being at the airport. The clock doesn't matter.
True. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all.
Time is an illusion. Congratulations.
The clock rarely matters in London. It's definitely not going to matter in Vegas. But anyway, I hope we'll speak to you over the next few days. If anything, you'll get a laugh because I won't be able to string a sentence together. No surprise there. But honestly, thank you so much, everyone. We really do appreciate you. Whatever you're doing today, stay safe, keep it tight. Much love, and we will see you hopefully maybe Thursday.
Have a good one, guys.